Hey there, everyone. Good afternoon. We were having some good old fun about the football World Cup that's currently going on. Pretty sure a lot of you are also keeping good track of it. Not the topic of today, though. Today we're going to talk about LLMs, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, well, you name it. We saw a lot of questions already in the forum for things that interest you. We put the presentation together carefully. Hopefully that will answer a lot of questions, but this session is definitely also a good opportunity to ask some questions, of course, to the audience. For now, I'll take a minute to introduce our speakers while we wait for the other people to join the webinar. I see a lot of familiar names here already, so that's good. Today, we're going to have Salome here from JPP, Life Science Marketing in the Netherlands. My colleague, she is the content lead with us, writing for various clients, working on their strategies. And then we have one of our esteemed partners, I may say, Patrick Waring from the UK, who focuses on life science marketing with a speciality in SEO and copywriting. So whenever we have, let's say, larger jobs, we work together on that. So that's really nice. We thought we'd do a webinar together because we both experienced a lot of questions like how do we handle, well, the upcoming LLMs. People see their traffic dropping. What can we do about it? So these are all topics that will combine in the webinar. Hopefully we'll give you the practical tools to get started. Also some options to get a little bit more information if you click the call to action sometimes. And also for the early birds, if you want to, Patrick and Salome together are available well, to set up, let's say, a short strategy session as well. So just to test, below the screen, you should be seeing call to action. So if you can't wait and want to book it right now, just let us know. And Patrick and Salome will try and get you started with an actionable plan. Then that being said, I think it's now 4:02. Lots of people in the webinar. I think Salome, you'll be taking up the first bit of the presentation. Feel free to take the stage.
Great. Well, thank you, Nick, for the lovely introduction. That was great. Thank you. And welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. So what we've seen this past years is that a major shift has happened in how people find information, and this is the reason why we also wanted to do this webinar today with you. So today we're going to look into why optimizing for LLMs matters. We're going to compare SEO versus GEO, look into how AI systems process content, and of course, some practical ways to adapt your content strategy along with some tools and a workflow that you can implement into your own processes. And with that, I would like to start. So to better understand why optimizing for LLMs matters, I would like to start by looking at how AI is already changing and has changed the buying journey so far. And to do so, I'm going to start with the basics, with the very basics, if I might say, which basically is the sales funnel. And now I understand that each one of you might use a different funnel. So today I'm just using a very simple one that goes from lead generation to post-sale, or in very simple words, from awareness, consideration to decision. And I would like to dive into the awareness stage. So what happened up to a few years ago, it's that if someone wanted to understand a new technology, they would go to, let's say, Google, open several websites, and compare information themselves. And I'm not saying that this is not happening still, but honestly, how many of us are using the AI snippets these days, or go directly into, let's say, ChatGPT to ask for a comparison between two similar service providers? And this means that just ranking on the top of the search engine these days is not enough anymore. So your content needs to be recognized and listed in the AI tools. Because if it doesn't, you will see your website traffic dropping and not leads coming in, which is not what we want. And therefore, the question now becomes, how do you make sure that your company is part of that answer, is part of the answer that pops up in AI systems? And this is where GEO and content writing for LLMs comes in. Okay, so now that we've established how AI is changing and where and how people get information, the next question is what that means in practical terms for content strategy. So here I have a comparison of SEO and GEO side by side. And traditionally, what happens is that content strategy has been built around SEO. And the goal has always been rank in search engines like Google, Safari, if you're a Mac person, generate clicks and drive traffic to a website, right? And that meant content was often structured around keywords and, of course, search intent. But as I have already mentioned, before so as I already mentioned before, AI tools generate a direct answer. So now, instead of keywords being the main driver, the focus shifts more towards topics and more clearly structured questions. And honestly, for me, this is the main difference. So basically, your content now is meant to be referenced and not just listed on a site. And for those of you who have a scientific background, it's the same thing as a scientific paper, right? So the more times it gets cited by other authors, the more visibility it has in a journal. And I want to get ahead of myself here because I see already a question in the chat. SEO is not going to be replaced by GEO because SEO best practices is helping content to pop up in AI. The difference between SEO and GEO here is that GEO is an extension of how content is discovered and used technically. And to understand that, we need a simple view of how AI systems process information because they don't really read content the way we do, but at the same time, they're not just scanning for keywords either anymore. And what they do instead is pick up patterns in language and how concepts relate to each other. So how ideas connect, how, let's say, consistently something is explained, how a topic is developed across a text or even across clusters. Clusters are my favorite, by the way. So all in all, structured content tends to do better here because it's simpler to be interpreted by AI. And these systems are trained on huge amounts of text, where clear, consistent explanations usually signal something more reliable. And talking about reliability, we come to the topic of authority, which is my personal favorite, honestly. So when AI systems generate answers, they still have to decide what sources to lean on more because they have an infinite amount of sources. So things like depth, consistency, and whether you actually sound like you know what you're talking about starts to matter. And this is a low-hanging fruit for me, but also the next thing is also low-hanging fruit, which is the structure, because as we said before, SEO best practices still matter. So clear headings, definitions, simple question-based questions, it just makes it easier for AI systems to find your content. And last but not least, continuous learning, because what I see from a lot of companies is that they optimize their content for SEO, they generate blogs, but what they don't do is they don't update them. So since AI systems are systems that they constantly feed with new resources, if your content is not up to date, then it's not going to be cited in the system. Okay, so if AI relies on context, structure, and authority, the next question is, why does so much content still fail to meet the standard? And that is especially true in life sciences, where the scientific depth is usually strong, but the way it is communicated is often not aligned with how buyers or AI systems interpret information. And the first main issue, and again, my favorite, is lacking of authority. You may have a lot of SEO optimized articles out there, but if they're not supported by authoritative materials such as case studies, white papers, webinars, or even expert interviews. You can use the experts within your own company. Then the system is not going to pick them up as something that it's worth sharing, because it really values knowledge exchange and expertise knowledge exchange. So as I said before, it's a low-hanging fruit here. It's something that I always suggest to my clients to do first. Just support your content with authoritative material. The second issue is perspective, and a lot of content focuses heavily on what the company does without clearly connecting to what problem it solves, basically. And both buyers and AI systems start with a problem and not the solution. So this is something that we need to be aware of. And the last issue is that the content often doesn't reflect real buyer questions. So instead of answering questions that your buyers are going to ask, the content stays at a descriptive level about the company. And as a result, it is technically correct, but not very usable for AI systems and driving unawareness to awareness. And here I have compiled 3 principles of GEO. It's very short because Patrick is gonna follow up with the reframe principles, basically. But in a very short, in very short, what you need to do is 3 steps. So basically, say what you mean. Do not use complex eyes, be straightforward and direct. Second, answer real questions, answer the questions that your buyers are asking. And third, show the evidence. So include proof, include authoritative documents within your content. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Patrick.
Great, thank you, Salome. So I'm going to go through a quick rewrite framework that's going to expand on everything that's just been covered in those few slides. So the idea of this is you should be able to go away, take this framework with you, and start to think about what you can do as a complete beginner to all of this about AI visibility. So 7 clear steps that you can start with. So as a run through, just so we see them first, we'll start with an audit. Take a look at SEO, take a look at content, then we'll take a look at EEAT, which I'll go through in a second. We'll start supplementing content with data, think about schema and structured data, and then lastly, citations and how that can help with your visibility. So starting with the audit, the first thing I would say to anybody and clients I deal with is before you start saying you want to improve AI visibility, is to actually take a look and see where you currently stand. Do you get any visibility? Do you get any traffic from these different AI tools? And just really understand that before you start messing around with things. So this is one of the biggest challenges with LLMs and AIs, is that how much traffic you get, how often are you being shown in all these tools? And the simple answer, there's no real best way to measure it. It's still evolving. There's no direct analytics from these tools that let you see where your website's appearing, when it's appearing, what tools, and so forth. So what I would recommend is to start with 2 tools that you might already have set up. One is Google Search Console, and the other one is Bing Webmaster Tools. Now, Bing is probably less used than Google, but I find it better for this example. Is that if you go into Bing Webmaster Tools, you can see all your SEO data for your website, how you're appearing in search engines. Now, there's a tab on the left-hand side which will tell you what keywords and phrases you're appearing for AI. Now, this gives you a good idea of obviously the keywords and phrases, but also the pages that appears, and it tells you how many impressions you're getting from them. There's 2 limitations here with this Bing tool, is that it is only for AI overviews in Bing, and it's only for anything that uses Copilot, which is obviously a Bing tool as well. So it's very limited, but it does give you some good data to start off with. Secondly, moving on from that, is Google Search Console is starting to release a similar tool. It's still quite restricted. You might not have access to it, but it's worth having a look, and it'll be on your left-hand sidebar if you've got it. Alternatively, the best bet is to start looking at your Google Analytics, see whether you've got any referral traffic from different tools, Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity, any of them, it doesn't really matter. And you should be able to see which referrals driving the most and which pages going to. Alternatively, use your favorite SEO tools. So if you're using Ahrefs or SEMrush, they've also now got some tools that show you what keywords you're appearing for, what pages are appearing for. But again, it's all very limited data. It's all sampled. There's no real sort of definitive answer, which makes it quite hard to go through. So with that in mind, what I'd say is just go back to sort of SEO fundamentals. Start looking at the keywords that you know is either generating traffic to your website or has done in the past, or the keywords that you want to rank for. Go and find these keywords from an SEO tool. Start finding which ones are popular, and look for ones that are sort of informational intent, or they're looking for comparisons. They're probably the best two types of keywords to go for. And then finally, just go onto these tools and start searching for yourself. So look for best CDMO or best CRO in the UK or in Europe or in the Netherlands, wherever it is that you want to target, and see if you appear, see if your competitors appear, and just repeat this with lots of prompts across different tools, and see if there's any patterns that you can see or findings you can take away for yourself. Now, it's important to do that because you'll understand sort of quite quickly how good or bad your visibility is. Now, I would always say go back to your SEO. So a year ago, 2 years ago, everyone said SEO is dead, AI is the future, but I wouldn't quite say SEO is dead just yet. Now, the importance of SEO was obviously the ultimate goal was to get traffic from Google, from Bing, from any search engine really. And you got the traffic by appearing on position 1 or as high as you could, and you'd get more traffic that way. Fundamentally, when you do SEO, you're trying to increase how well Google can crawl your site, how well it can find data, how well it can find information. And with that, it would then rank your website accordingly. Now, if you've done SEO well, then your website's likely to be highly crawlable, data's indexed. These bots can go onto your website, find the information it needs, and use that. And AI is very similar, right? It still has to go and find information. It still has to crawl it. It has to understand the context. If your website doesn't work well enough for search engines, it's probably not going to work for AI tools either. So if you've got an issue there, you want to go back and sort of review some of the technical SEO fundamentals to see where you can improve the visibility of your website for AI. I'll quickly touch on this about structuring your content because we'll go through it in a bit more detail after these 7 points. AI works a bit differently to SEO in that it likes to take small chunks of content, pull out the best bits and sort of add them together to make its own information up. So AI will usually give you an answer back, and it's taken information from 8 to 10 sites and sort of put together a section of text for you. Now, what it's doing is it's looking for information that is clear to find, and it's looking for context. So You still want to keep your clear structure that you would have with SEO basics anyway. So a single H1 at the top, H2s, H3s in subsequent order. FAQs still good for SEO, really useful for AI because you've got a nice question with a short snippet of text underneath that directly answers. Again, bullet points and tables, rather than having lengthy passages of text or long paragraphs, what you're doing is you're just taking key information, put it into bullet points and tables. It's easy to scan and easy to pull out for these LLMs. And the last one just put is about short answer blocks. So that's a bit similar to FAQs really, but what you'll find is when you're writing content is to use a writing framework called BLUF. So it's BLUF as bottom line up front. So what you do is, rather than going into a lengthy passage of text describing something, you give the answer or the key information up front, and then with the rest of your text, you give the supporting information, the context with it. The next one is EAT. So this has been around for a few years now, before AI was a thing. And this was sort of, again, another SEO fundamental. So EEAT, as you can see, is experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. So as scientists or working with scientists, we should be doing this anyway, really. Is if you are trying to sell your science, then you want to demonstrate that you've got the expertise in this science, you've got the experience, you've been working it for 10, 20 years. You've built up this authority and you've built up the trust because you've been working in your niche for so long, or you've published papers, you've done research, you're working with experts. And these are the key aspects that you really need to demonstrate on your website, on your content, to show that you are real. There's real people, there's a real team behind your science, rather than just copywriters, ghostwriters writing blog posts that anyone can write, and in fact even AI can write now. So this is really key, and something as scientists we should be doing really well. So following on from that as well is when you're trying to get cited in AI tools, another big thing is it loves statistics and it loves data. So if you have information or data that is unique to you, you should really be using it here. So on this example here is we've got survival rates improved by 34%. That's a made up statement, but that's sort of a very common site that will be on life science websites. So there's key data there. If you can add a reference as well, or you can add a source to where it's come from, even better. Going back to the previous slide about your expertise, your authority, your trust, having sort of author bylines at the top to say, look, this is real data, this supports real science, this is written by a real scientist who has got the credentials to be saying this with some accuracy and with some truth. The key reason for this is LLMs want to be giving you the best information, and they are putting all these pieces together that you've shown on your website to say, look, here's the information, this is why it's credible, this is why I'm giving it to you. Another one here is schema or structured data. Again, this one's been around for a while. The debate is still ongoing about whether schema actually impacts AI, but I think at this point in time, it's not going to do any harm by making sure it's in place, both for SEO and for AI. So for those who aren't aware of schema, it's a format like you see on the screen here. It's written for machines, it's written for bots. It's not information that a user would see on your web page. But the idea is that it gives key information that Google can, or not necessarily Google, or the AI tools can understand. It can see the context, go directly to it, and sort of help to quickly understand the content when it's trying to find the best information. And then the last one of this framework is about third-party citation. So again, 2 years ago, SEO was all about generating backlinks. You needed to get as many links from other websites to your website with the hope that it would increase SEO performance. And it still applies today for AI. You want to get your website, your research, your science cited from other sources to say, look, it's more like a popularity contest, right? The more people that say this is good work or look what they're doing is all helping. And the reason it helps is that when AI tools are trying to find information, they go into multiple sources, and if they see the same information across multiple sources, the idea is it's likely to result in increased visibility. So quickly gone through those 7. I know if there's any questions, please let us know in the comments, and we can try and answer some at the end. Or I think we can even give these slides away at the end, can't we, Nick? If anybody really wants them. But moving on, slowly now we'll go through, I guess, this rewrite checklist, which is sort of to expand on what I've just mentioned with the content structure.
Yes, exactly. So what we'd like you to take out of this presentation is very simple checklist that you can apply yourselves as well in your content strategy. And so far, this is basically a summary of what we've discussed before. So you can see here that for refining your expertise, you can use question answer framing, cite real world context, final check for conversation flow, and of course refining how you write. You have to rephrase for clarity, because as also Patrick mentioned, clarity and direct answers, removing jargon, basically really helps popping up in AI systems. And yeah, personally, when I write content, I try to check off all of these checkpoints. I'm sure that Patrick is doing the same as well. It really helps to have them somewhere written down. And to put everything into practice, what we have here is basically a comparison for SEO and GEO. So we have an SEO focus checks and then a GEO rewrite. And to focus on one of them, you can see here that we have already optimized one text, and the changes that we have implemented here are highlighted. So we've included a straightforward question. So how do we help you run better oncology trials? And then we move on with the answer. So it's basically answering the question or the topic of your content in the start. And then, of course, including something authoritative, such as a statistic. Here it is a quote from a client, because it says that you've already worked with a client, and this is the results that you that came out of your collaboration. So this is another great way to support your expertise. And of course, these days out there are a lot of tools that you can use for authority tracking, analytics, readability, and structuring the data. There are more and more tools popping up every day, and a lot of people are using different tools. It just really depends on what you like and what's more personalized to you. I personally use a lot for authority tracking. I use Moz. Of course, SEMrush and Grammarly, but also ChatGPT for writing, because ChatGPT, I'm not sure if you know, a lot of people seem not to know, but it has the project files where basically you can implement all the instruction that you need to follow during the project, and it doesn't divert from best practices that you have instructed it to go. I'm sure that, Patrick, is there anything that you would like to highlight from these tools?
I wouldn't say from these tools specifically. I'd say that there are lots of tools out there now, and there's even more tools coming, and it's not going to stop. I think there's the case that you can get paralyzed by trying to use the latest tool or the latest feature. I would recommend you try and keep it simple. Use the tools that you've already got, see if they've got any AI functionality. But always go back to your data that you're measuring, or hopefully you're measuring it as marketeers. Check your website analytics, check the data that you know you can trust. It's all very fuzzy with AI. Again, if there's any sort of tool specific questions, I think you'd have to ask us directly on a case-by-case basis, which we're happy to do afterwards. But you definitely don't need to be using all of these tools at the same time.
Exactly, I agree. But if you would like to learn what each one of them does, we have a white paper on the webinar itself, which includes all the tools and also the topics that we have discussed today. So please let us know if you would like the document after the webinar. And to finalize the presentation, I have implemented here a simple workflow to implement the GEO into your processes. So you basically need to start small, then obviously build a repeatable process, test in real conversations. As we mentioned multiple times before, you need to answer the questions that your buyers are asking, build authority, and then, of course, track, adjust, and repeat. Because if you don't test the system multiple times, if you don't update your content and the way that you upload the content, then it's going to fall behind and AI systems won't pick it up. And with that, I'm going to give it back to Nick. Thank you from us.
Well, thank you. Thank you both. I think some digital applause for webinars like these. I see that there's 2 questions in the public chat already. That's great. Maybe we can ask it to you both, see if we get different answers. I think we covered it a bit, but then if you have to make it a succinct answer, Patrick, how do you measure success in GEO? Let's say you're trying to pop up in GEO. How would you do it, or in LLMs?
Well, I think if you're trying to measure success, I think it goes back to the first point I raised in that framework, is to sort of measure some sort of performance right at the very start, see where your baseline is, and then make sort of changes which you're tracking. Don't go and do lots of changes across lots of pages with lots of different tactics. Keep it small, like Salome said in the that roadmap. Maybe trial a couple of pages, update the content or the structure, see if that starts to shift things with more visibility or more traffic from analytics. If you see positive results there, then expand it across the site. If you don't see anything noticeable, maybe try something else, or try some different tactics, because these AI tools are changing so rapidly. What we might recommend today might be out of date next week. And like we are all good scientists, it is all about hypothesizing, testing, analyzing, and then repeating the process.
Nice. Salome, anything to add?
I think Patrick got everything covered there.
Okay.
Great answer.
And a question from Maria. If a small life sciences company has limited time and resources, I guess that covers a lot of companies, huh? So nice one. What would be the first geo actions you would recommend implementing? Like a top 3, maybe.
Well, I'll take this one. First of all, create a strong content strategy. A lot of companies go straight for geo optimization, but they forget that they need to have strong materials to begin with that will actually align with what their buyers are actually looking for. Secondly, generate the content, and if it's possible, make it authoritative. So create it not as a blog to begin with, but generate it as a case study, for example, or a white paper. And then when you actually upload it, keep it updated.
Okay. Nice. I hope that answers the question. And then let's see what Patrick can add to that.
I would say similar, really. I think with what I've seen with smaller companies is the ones that do it very well are they are producing lots of material, or at least lots of sort of posts or content about the same thing. It's not that every time you need to create a new piece of content because you've got a new piece of information to share. If you've got one key point that you want to share, just keep sharing it. Just keep going over and over, because people don't always see things at the same time. And again, if you can do this well, repeat it. Again, content is the main thing you need for these AI systems. It all belongs with content, and you need something original. If you don't have anything original, then you'll never get into these LLMs at all.
Okay. So private question here. Is it better to update all existing content or to start writing fresh content specifically aimed at LLMs? Who wants to take it?
I can go this one. I think, again, it really starts with the data you've got. If you've got strong pieces of content that are generating traffic, then you should probably keep reusing those, get the most out of them as you can. If you see the possibility that you can then expand on that with some additional content, then great, go for it. I would be very hesitant to replace everything you've done in the past with complete new content, because it's a lot more effort and takes a lot more time to do.
Yes. So keeping everything up to date really matters. I would personally, if again you're a small company, I would say that you optimize your current content. I'm sure that, if the basis is the correct one, of course.
Okay. Oh, there's another one. These are great resources to learn from. I'd like to know is how writing online and marketing asset copy with AI will affect rankings on search engines and chatbots, and to what extent content should be written with AI versus without. Has this been something you've tested? If you want to reread it, please click the Q&A one, Patrick, as well. I realized that was a very long sentence of me.
I think from my perspective is that you can use AI to write content or generate content, but you need to give it some limitations, or you need to give it some guidelines. Is if you just ask AI to write 1,000 words about a very broad topic, it will give you that information, but it will be very generic. It won't be informative to anybody reading it, and it'll be a waste of time. Absolutely, you should be using AI to do sort of research, to structure your content, to rewrite things for better readability. But you still need that manual touch. And like Slomi said, if you've got project files in ChatGPT, in Perplexity, it's called Spaces. There's something for all these tools now. should give it some guidelines of past content you've written, what you want to say, what you don't want to say, and it will go and write something that is better, but you still need to review it before you publish it. I hope you're not doing that.
There's a double question. What kind of formats are currently underused that will probably perform better when you're trying to geo-optimize? Start with that one. Formats like probably news or interviews or regular blogs.
Sorry, go on, Salome.
From my personal experience, formats such as interviews, case studies perform the best because they have implemented the expertise view in there. So the engines already take it as something that it's authoritative and willing to spread it out, share the knowledge. But blogs can also work really well as well if they include these key factors in there, and of course are use the best SEO key practices, because as we mentioned before, SEO best practices still work very well for popping up in AI systems.
Well, then you get the follow-up question, Patrick, specifically for the life science audience, I suppose. Will scientific publications increase in importance? Like actual publications? I think PubMed, Lancet.
I don't think so any more than they do now. I think it really depends on what type of information somebody is trying to get. So if you are a researcher and you want to find some data about a very specific research area you're working on, then it's probably going to be more useful. In terms of sort of marketing, I'm not sure it's as important, because these AI tools aren't looking at publications when it comes to recommending suppliers or showing who's the best business to work with from that case. So I think it really depends on who you're trying to target with these LLMs.
Okay. Good. Well, I think that was the last question. Then again, well, thank you two for speaking. Thank you to the audience for joining. Then what I'll do is for the ones that are still paying attention, I'll put on that call to action if you guys want to book a meeting with Patrick and Salome so they can help you. Feel free to click it. It's down there. We'll do another one summer after summer. Because as Patrick said, it's currently still evolving a lot, so probably more insights to share later. And then other than that, here in the Netherlands, it's great weather, so wishing you all a great day, and then see you at the next webinar.